Financial minimalism is financial freedom. It's about being in control of your money. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, The Bulletproof Life. My name is Ruki Odewumi and I'm glad to have you here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how I live a financially minimalist life. Yes, I'm a financial minimalist. I live a minimalist life. I keep things simple, and being a financial minimalist is one thing that is helping me to build wealth for my future and to create generational wealth for my unborn grandchildren. So how have I been living a financially minimalist life? What do I do? What makes me a financial minimalist? I'm going to share with you about 9 different things that I do that makes me a financial minimalist. But before I jump into that, please can you press the like button for me so that YouTube can share this video with a lot more people like you. And if you haven't subscribed, please do it by pressing the red button on the right. Thank you for that. So let's get right into today's topic. What are the things I do that make me a financial minimalist? The first thing I do that makes me a financial minimalist is that I use a zero-based budget. So what is a zero-based budget? A zero-based budget is a budget that allows me to plan my income right to the last penny. So if I earn £2,000 every month, I start off by planning £2,000 into the different categories of bills and expenses that I make, and I include my savings and investments as expenses right until I get to the last zero of my income. I do this every month and it allows me to account for every penny that I earn. That is the first way I live a financially minimalist life. The second thing that helps me to be a financial minimalist is that I track my spending. It's very easy for me to say I do a zero-based budget and I write out all my expenses right to the last penny. But if I don't track it, I won't stick with that budget and I won't be a financial minimalist. So what I do is that I track my spending right through the month. So it helps me keep track of my spending. So I'm not spending anyhow. I'm not constantly making purchases because at the beginning of the month, I've already done a budget that gives me specific amounts to spend on specific things. And once I spend that amount on those things, nothing can get me to spend anything more. So tracking my spending is the second thing that helps me to be a financial minimalist. The third thing is automating my bills. So what I mean by automating my bills is that I set up direct debits for the bills that I need to go out every month. So I automate the bills that go out of my account every month, the bills I pay monthly, so that I don't have to try to pay them. They just pay themselves every month. It also helps me to then stick to the budget because at the beginning of the month, when I've written the budget and I've said it's £40 for electricity, it's £40 for gas, it's £15 for water, those things will leave my account automatically. I've agreed them with the utility provider and they leave my account automatically. It's seamless, it's simple, and it's straightforward. It allows me to be financially minimalist. So if you look at my bank statements, I don't have endless entries going on in there. There are very simple few entries in my account every month and they go in and go out at the same time every month. So that's another thing that makes me a financial minimalist. Another thing that I do as a financial minimalist is to declutter regularly. So being a minimalist also means that you have fewer things, you spend on fewer things, you acquire fewer things. So I declutter regularly. So in addition to not spending beyond my budget and tracking my spending, I declutter. I declutter my home, I declutter my wardrobe, I declutter my space regularly. I look around me and remove things that I no longer need, things that I'm not using, things that I haven't used in a long while. And I have 3 steps in decluttering. I either resell it, discard it, or take it to charity. So when I pick up something that I no longer need or I no longer use, I always ask myself, am I reselling this? Am I discarding this? Or am I taking this to charity? And I'm constantly doing this with the things I don't need. So it allows my space to be free, to be minimalist, to be free of clutter, which is good for my mind and which also prevents me from doing further spending because I'm looking at things constantly and trying to find usage for them. Once I can't find a use for it, then I'm thinking about selling it or taking it to charity. In addition to decluttering, the other thing I do as a financial minimalist is that I recycle and I upcycle. So if I'm unable to find a use for something immediately because it's broken or because it doesn't serve the purpose for which I originally had it, I start thinking of how I can recycle it, how I can upcycle it, how I can give it a new purpose. That also prevents me from spending. So I'm always looking around me, looking in my immediate environment, looking within my space, and asking myself, before I make another purchase, is there something in my house, something I own already, I can upcycle to fit the purpose of something new I need, instead of making a fresh purchase. And this also allows me to hold back on making purchases, because I find ways to use the things I already have to find a new purpose for them. So that is another way I live as a financial minimalist. Lean spending habits is another way I live as a financial minimalist. I try not to make spending a thing. I'm quite averse to just spending, so I don't go out of my way to make purchases repeatedly or constantly. I try to step away from spending, which is why a zero-based budget works for me, because at the beginning of the month, I have allocated different things to different categories. I already know how much I have to spend on food, how much I have to spend on clothing, whether I should be spending on clothing that month. And if I've not made any plans to spend on clothing and everything else has gone into their different categories, I can't spend anyhow, because then it will deprive another category of money that has been allocated to it if I just wake up and start spending. So having lean spending habits is another thing I do as a financial minimalist. I don't spend anyhow. I don't do emotional spending. If I fill a basket at a time when I'm feeling emotional, I don't check out. I feel it, I go away for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days. So I don't do impulse spending. I think about it. I ask myself what I'm buying, where I'm going to store it, what I'm going to use it for, how long I'm going to need it for, what purpose it's going to serve. When it no longer serves the purpose, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to sell it? Am I going to chuck it? Am I going to take it to charity? Can I get it cheaper? Can I use something else in the house instead of buying this one? Do I really need it now? Can the version of it that I have, can it last me for a while longer, or do I really need it now? So I go through a lot of self-searching and ask myself a lot of questions before I make purchases. And all of this has helped me to develop lean spending habits. Just so we are clear, I'm sharing these 9 things to help you adopt a financially minimalist life, to help you know the kind of habits you can pick up that will help you become financially minimalist. Things that you can do that will help you declutter your space, remove extras from your life, and reduce how much you spend, and so help you to become a financial minimalist. My younger sister found it very weird when she tried to get me to buy a particular blouse, and I said to her, that's not in my color palette. She said, you have a color palette? I said, I do. What does that mean? It means that I only shop certain colors. And if I'm trying to buy clothing, I always check if it's in my palette. Now, this might not work for you, but it works for me. And what that means is that I only buy certain colors. Then it means that a lot of the clothes in my wardrobe work together. It means that I can have 6 or 7 pieces and wear them in a lot of different ways because they all work within the same palette. It means that if a few number of shoes can work with a lot of my clothes because they're in the same palette. So you're not likely to find things like violet or purple in my wardrobe because it's not in my color palette. My color palette is made up of colors I really love, I'm comfortable in, and I wear a lot. And then I threw in a few really, really out there colors just to jazz things up. You've probably seen me in a bright pink jacket before, and that's because pink is the happy color in my color palette. So I work with a color palette which also restricts my shopping. I'm not constantly trying to find things to match things because a lot of my things go together because I have a very small color palette. The base color in a lot of my clothing is within a specific number of 5, 6, 7 colors. The base colors I wear are usually black, white, navy blue, and then I throw in a touch of red, and then I have the bright pink that I really like, and then I wear a lot of neutrals. So those are the colors that I have in my color palette. So having a small or specific color palette allows you to be a financial minimalist because it helps you to then control how much you spend when you're shopping on things like clothing because you're shopping within a particular color spectrum. The other fashion related step I take as a financial minimalist is to have a coordinated wardrobe. So I've taken time to understand my style, what works for my body, what doesn't work for my body, and I stick with that. I don't shop out of that space. I'm one of those ladies who have a bit of a fupa, and so when I buy things, I make sure that they have a line across the waist if I'm buying a dress. So I buy things that fit my body shape, things that align with my style. I'm not a big fan of certain things, so I don't buy them. So I don't buy clothing in styles I won't wear. I'm very conscious of the style that appeals to me and suits my body, and I coordinate my wardrobe accordingly. I love tailored pieces. I love to wear things that are tailored and that are structured and have clean lines. So I tend to shop around those things, and that allows me to coordinate my wardrobe and keep my spending very, very minimal and in the fashion space, because I'm not just buying everything that comes around. It doesn't matter if it's on sale. It doesn't matter if it's 70% off. It doesn't matter if I've got a windfall. I'm not going to spend it on things that are not in my color palette or that does not coordinate with the rest of my wardrobe. So having a coordinated sense of dressing is something that has helped me as a financial minimalist and helps me to stay within the style of a financial minimalist. Another key step for me as a financial minimalist is careful maintenance of the things that I have. I've mentioned a lot of actions here that are intended to help you reduce your spending, and that's because I feel that is a big part of being a financial minimalist, is reduced spending. So I do a lot of maintenance for the things that I have, my shoes, my clothing, my furniture, things within my house. I teach my children to maintain the things that we have. So I take care of my shoes. When I go out and I come back in, I put them away carefully. I iron my clothes. I'm very careful with how I do laundry so that I'm not mixing the whites with the colors, or mixing the lights with the grays, or mixing the reds with the creams. So I do a lot of maintenance. I don't wash things that need to be dry cleaned. I don't soak things that don't need to be soaked. I don't use bleach where bleach is not required, and things like that. So I try to maintain the things that I have so that they can last longer, so I'm not constantly going out to buy replacements. The last action I would like to talk about, which I take as a financial minimalist, is how I invest. I invest a lot in funds, more than I do in shares. And the reason why is because it simplifies things for me. So instead of me trying to invest in different stocks and shares and tracking different stocks and shares and monitoring them and then buying them individually, I simply invest in a fund which is invested in a large number of the shares that I'm looking at. So if I'm interested in some shares, I will look for a fund that invests in that particular kind of shares. If I'm looking at defensive shares, I look for a fund that is heavily invested in defensive shares. Instead of me specifically buying the shares of Facebook and Amazon, I look for a fund that is invested in both Facebook and Amazon, and then I invest in that fund. And because I'm investing in that fund, it's simpler for me, it's a smoother process, and it allows me to tick off a lot of boxes in one fell swoop. Financial minimalism is financial freedom. It's about being in control of your money. It's about making the most efficient and effective movements with your money. It's about doing the most with your money. And that is what I do as a financial minimalist. If you've enjoyed this video, please press the like button. Don't forget to drop me a comment and to share it with your friends. If you want to know more about financial minimalism, drop me a comment, let me know. I'm willing to talk about it a lot more. This is something I've adopted over the last 10 years, and it has really worked for me. It's been a big part of my journey to financial freedom, which is why I'm very keen to share it with you. I'm very keen to talk about it with you, and I will be happy to come back with more videos on it if it's something that you want to hear more about. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do it by pressing the red button on your right. Don't forget to press the bell so you can get notifications every time I share a new video. It's been a delight hanging out with you. It's been a delight doing this video with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you back here to watch my next video. Until then, you take care of yourself and keep living